Good morning, everyone. I am Tabitha with Tabs on Tap. Happy Friday. As you guys can see, I've got my fancy shirt on today. Happy to be with you all. I can't believe it's Friday. I also can't believe that it's almost the end of August. It's like how time flies, doesn't it? Yesterday, for some of you who may not remember or who may not have been here, something happened like mid show and my comment line went down and it I see the comment line in a different way than you guys see it. From everything that I see, it brings together comments from X, from YouTube, from Facebook, all of the different platforms come into me through a mainstream. And I noticed that Facebook was the first comments that went down, and then the others followed. So I don't know what happened. I hope that whatever the situation is fixed today. We will see, because of course, I heavily rely on all of you commenting and participating and talking to me throughout the show, because it's definitely just me and you guys, right? You never know what the day may bring, but I will tell you what, I don't know about you guys, but I am so glad it's Friday. I don't think anyone understands how happy I am that it's Friday. It has been a crazy, crazy week for me, as most weeks are, super busy, between work and now the podcast and getting everything prepared. And I'm a part-time caretaker for my stepfather who's in hospice, and times are crazy, but you know what? Still blessed to be here, blessed to be alive, and another week down. Well, look at that. I've got a comment. I guess the line is working. Good morning, Glusna. You're with us early this morning. Good morning, Karen. There's, as always on a Friday, there's a lot to talk about, and I added in some different things today, which I hope to continue to do and to do more of. I think we're all tired of hearing just like news, news, news. There's so much going on in the world, and there's so many different things to talk about besides just news. Of course, heading into an election, especially an election right now, in such a the only word I can use is fiery time. Things are crazy out there. It's so important for us to keep up with the election and what's going on in the news, especially world news, because man, there is a lot going on. Genevieve says last Friday, oh gosh, before her preschool starts again. Good morning, Ryan. Yeah, Genevieve, I gotcha. Our weeks are crazy, aren't they? Yesterday, I don't know what happened, but my cell phone that I use for, which is it's my technically my old iPhone, I use for the show and for the show comment line. And so yesterday, for some reason, it just stopped working, and I didn't have time to look at it. So I don't know if it's the cord, if it's the phone. So if you sent me any messages there, also cannot receive them. I don't know what is going. Have you ever had one of those months, years where you feel like all of the planets are lined up against you or for you? For me, it can be a day-to-day switch. They're either for me or against me, but today is definitely one of those days. So we'll see how things go. I've got my fancy shirt on, so off to a good start there. And like I said, I'm very happy it's Friday. We're approaching a holiday weekend too. It's like, where does the time go? I don't know about you guys, but I remember when I was a kid, and I don't recall who exactly, but older people would tell me that, gosh, when you get older, the time just goes by in the blink. It's just here and it's gone. And isn't that the truth? That's one thing that I really wished when I was younger, I would have really listened to and understood the magnitude of it. Because as a kid, I remember the summers would seem so long. It would be an eternity between the time that school ended and the time school began, and then getting through the school year. Now, all of a sudden, it's gone. I mean, a week is gone, a day is gone, a month is gone, a year is gone. How is it already a year later? It's crazy for me. Good morning, Lori. Happy Friday to you also. Haven't been able to tune in this week. Well, Lori, you're just going to have to go back and watch the shows, because we talked about a lot of important stuff. We're always talking about important stuff because the world is on fire. There's a lot to talk about. No question. Yes, Genevieve, it does fly. I never imagined that the time would fly like it does. And I imagine as we get older, it's gonna even go a little bit quicker. I don't know even how to comprehend how fast that will be, because it's lightning speed for me already. Now, next week, if you guys want to, I will get the comment line fixed. And I know there's a lot of good stuff there, and there's a lot of things I'm going to talk about today, different topics that you guys sent in, different photos you sent to me. Some of them I think are pretty intriguing. But you can comment on the show line as well, 314-546-2677. It's probably just my cord and not the actual phone itself. Good morning, Dottie. And there's a lot, as always, to talk about today. I think one of the biggest stories today, outside of maybe what's going on in Russia right now, is RFK Jr. I think today is the day. It just happens to be that Donald Trump has a rally today in Glendale, Arizona, and he has announced that he will have a special guest today. And I do believe that special guest is going to be RFK Jr. I really do. I think he is going to be there today. He already put in his paperwork to withdraw his nomination. And I believe he is going to make his announcement today at the Trump rally that not only is he going to endorse Donald Trump, but I think somewhere down the line, I do believe that he is going to become part of the Trump administration. And I think this is so incredibly important to us as conservatives because it we need some middle ground. We need some middle ground. And I really do believe, and I think you believe too, or I hope you believe that the majority of Democrats, they don't even they're being brainwashed. They're all being snowballed. They don't know what's going on. They have no idea that they're getting ready to step both feet into communism. They have no idea. And a lot of them do follow RFK Jr. He does have a good following. Now, you would never know that because the media is biased, but RFK Jr. does have a good following. And I know a lot of good conservatives who like him as well. So it's not so far out of the realm to think that he will not help us and bring a lot of good people to our party. Genevieve, imagine if RFK is head of the HHS, FDA, or CIA. Well, that would be interesting. Brent Walls was an assistant coach, not Coach Setcher. Lori, Miss Colonel Joe Adams. You know what? You can go back and listen to it. I love having Colonel Joe Adams on. Can't wait to have him on again next week. I'm going to message him after the show, by the way. Dottie, strengthening the ranks. Glesna, I hope his numbers are big enough to influence the votes. Glesna, doesn't really matter. I mean, unfortunately, I hate to say that, but does it really matter? I don't think it matters. Why does it not matter? Because we all know freedom is an illusion, voting, an illusion, elections, just another illusion. It is literally just another illusion. They hold a vote so that we can all go out and cast our ballot so that we can feel like we actually have a say in what happens in this country. And we don't. We really don't. And I don't think the only way we can win an election is if we cheat bigger than they did. That is literally the only way. I don't see any chance whatsoever that Trump has. I really don't. However, now being that I said that, I also do believe we are vastly the majority. We are vastly the majority. And in this country, if it was one vote per person and that's how your votes were actually counted and tallied, there is no question that our conservatives, not going to say Republican, our conservative with candidates, they'd win every single time. But the only thing you can do is go out and vote, cast your vote, do your part. Because if everyone does go out and cast a vote, they still have even though it's a system of illusion, they still are accountable for those votes. We still can challenge them on those votes. So think about that. Good morning, Karen, and happy Friday, Allison. I was in St. Francis County last night, Allison. I thought of you. And let's see here. Ryan, DNC said they would have a special guest last night and didn't have one. Is Trump really going to have a special? I really think Trump is going to have a special guest, and I do think it's going to be RFK Jr. I absolutely do think that he is going to announce that he is going to endorse Donald Trump. I absolutely do believe that. And as a matter of fact, I have a statement here from his VP, Nicole Shanahan, and what Nicole has stated here. This is an X she made, the only platform we really have these days to speak the truth. And this is from Nicole Shanahan. This is what she said, and it shouldn't surprise any of us that this is what's taking place behind the scenes. She says, "My old Dem buddies have been flooding me with frantic calls, texts, and emails. Unlike Roe, I wouldn't dream of airing those private conversations publicly, but the message is clear. They're terrified of the idea of our movement joining forces with Donald Trump. When I point out what the Democrat Party and their super PACs have done to sabotage our campaign, their response is always, but Trump is worse. Here's an idea: stop suing us. Let us debate. Quit rigging the media and the polls. It's a simple formula, people. Get with it. Now, isn't that some truth? Isn't that some truth? Because I'll tell you, I don't know how we're going to come out of this. I really don't. But it's not going to be an easy situation. And you know what you're going to end up with? You're going to end up with 4 years of this. I want you to let this sink in. Listen very carefully. Pay very close attention, because you're going to be hearing a lot of this if we don't do something, and if we don't do something really quick.
Elections to the peaceful transfer of power. I will be a president who unites us around our highest aspirations, a president who leads and listens, who is realistic, practical, and has common sense, and always fights for the American people. From the courthouse to the White House, that has been my life's work.
I'm not sure about you guys, but that makes me physically ill. And I'm not even kidding when I say it makes me physically ill. It actually makes me feel nauseous to think that we're going to have to hear that voice, see that face up on the podium, and know that she has no business being there. No business being there. She's never received a single vote. She has no business even running in this election. None. She was placed there by the big cabal, right? It's crazy. Monica, I'm not sure what you mean. You said if Venezuela can do it, so can we. I don't see a whole lot of anything going good in Venezuela. Nicolas Maduro, there is no way that the people of Venezuela elected him president. Uh, they, as a matter of fact, I don't think they can stand him. But I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about. Dottie says not 4 years, forever. This regime forever. Yes, I don't think we're ever going to get out of this regime running our country. I think it's going to be really tough. But you know what? We have to keep trying. That's all we can do. We have to keep trying. We have to do every single thing we can to keep trying. And if that means going out and again, working in your poll centers, if it means going door to door, door knocking, if it means doing what you can to get your friends and family to the polls, offering rides, whatever it is you need to do, we need to do it. We've got to step up. This is the time we have to step up. If we don't step up now, what you just saw, expect to see a whole lot more of it. And even more interesting, her words, right? Her words. What did she say? Peaceful transfer of power. Now let's just say that we're able to beat the system. We beat the system once, so it's not impossible to think we can do it again. We have God on our side, so that's a very powerful force, right? Eh, If we can beat the system again, do you really think there's going to be a peaceful transfer of power? Do you think the regime is just going to step outside of the White House again and welcome Trump back in? I mean, I really don't see it happening. But I also didn't see Kamala Harris being the VP again. I being nominated for the VP role. I really didn't expect that to happen. I really thought there would be something last minute they would swoop in and do to keep her out, because I really don't think that Obama likes her. I don't think that they really wanted her to be in that position, but I felt like maybe they just didn't have a choice. So what's going to happen now? They've got to have somebody they can control. They need another puppet. Biden, I think, was getting a little out of hand there at the end. I think that he really wanted to run again. I really do. Probably at his family's urging, his wife's urging, but I do think that he really, really, really expected to run again and was pretty shell shocked when they said no, it's not going to happen. And I don't think there's going to be a peaceful transfer of power if Trump wins. I don't think there's really going to be a peaceful transfer of power no matter who wins, quite honestly. And let's see here, Linda, sickening. And November 5th is our wedding anniversary. Aw, hopeful, but feel it's a no-win situation. I do too, Linda, but I hope you have a fantastic anniversary either way. Monica, that is what I mean. We can beat the system. No, it won't be easy, but we are fighting pure evil. Yes, we are. And we can beat the system. We have before. So we know we can again. But we have to get people out to the polls. No way around it. Brent says peaceful transfer of power is the UN. Is that really what she was saying? Maybe, maybe. And I'm going to get into what's going on over in Russia. The only thing I can say is that there's so much going on around the world. There's so many different things that can happen. We have the WHO back in the news again, talking about monkeypox and mass vaccinations. I mean, there's a lot going on. There's a new COVID variant that they're talking about. There's a new COVID vaccine that's out. Not sure if you guys have heard about that. There is a lot going on. There's still a lot that can happen between now and November. Don't think that there isn't something that can happen and a big wrench thrown into everything. Kevin, hope that the polls are wrong and Trump wins in a landslide. Kevin, I absolutely believe all of the polls are wrong, except for the one Elon Musk did on X. I think that is the only one that is a mostly legit poll. Now, I know it's going to be conservative heavy because right now X is our only free platform. As you guys may have heard yesterday, Joe Rogan, he said, God bless Elon Musk. And he's right, because it is the only free platform we have. Now, we have Rumble, we have Truth Social, but X by far has more users than any of these other platforms and more of a way to communicate back and forth. It is actually a free platform where we can go out and speak the truth without retribution. So we've got to give it to Elon Musk, at least for that. Allison, remember what Jamie Raskin said. They will not let Trump, well, of course they're not going to let Trump win, but I think they'll do anything they can to keep him from winning. Anything they can. He's got that bulletproof glass up. Have you seen that now? When he does a rally, he's surrounded with bulletproof glass. But does any of that really matter? If they want to get him, I think we all know it doesn't have to be an assassination. It can be a handshake. It can be that easy because there are foreign agents who can certainly, there's a way you can poison people through a handshake. There's ways you can poison people in many different ways. There are ways they could take him out, and he is an older man, that it could look like a heart attack or an accident or a stroke, any number of things. Jay says polls are far too easily manipulated just by where the polls are conducted. Absolutely so. And Kevin says, how are we going to control the cheating this time? Well, we're getting there. We're getting there. There was, let me see here. Where are my notes? I've got notes all over the place in here. There's always different things going on. We have some small wins. Yesterday, we talked a lot about different states and how they're really trying to eliminate these illegal voter registrations, illegal being non-citizens registering to vote, because we know now there is a new registration form that's going around where non-citizens can register to vote in just about every state. This is happening. We know Texas is stepping it up big time. Their attorney general was it Ken Paxton, I believe is his name? Their attorney general, as I said yesterday, he is launching an investigation into companies who are advertising and providing these registration forms to illegals, and they are helping them and assisting them to register to vote. So they're trying to crack down. I just saw Arizona. This just came through yesterday. Supreme Court, they're going to allow Arizona to require proof of citizenship to vote. That's a win. Alabama, 3,200 non-citizen registrations so far have been discovered, according to the Secretary of State, Wes Allen. Small wins, small wins. Number one, we have to keep the illegal vote out of the elections. We really have to watch those federal only ballots, because in some states, federal only ballots are legal. They really are. And so that's something we have to keep track of. And that's different from the illegal voter registration. There are ways that we can win. Darren, good morning. Also to you, Darren. Dottie, I'm beginning to think they will let them cheat. Well, come on, Daddy. They are absolutely going to cheat. They are absolutely going to cheat. There's no question about it. They already are cheating. As a matter of fact, that's it's a psychological thing. The polls are. It's psychological. That's what a lot of this DNC convention was as well. It's psychological warfare. It's propaganda. And what's happening with these polls is, of course, they want you to see, what was it, a week ago? Harris was a point above Trump in most polls, 2 points. It started out with him being a point or two ahead. Then she took the lead. Then she was a point or two ahead. Now, in some polls, she is 8 to 11 points ahead of Trump. It's psychological. They know that there are people, you guys are smart. You know what's going on. You know that these polls are fake, ridiculous propaganda. But most people don't. Think about that. Most people don't pay that much attention. They think we're crazy to say that polls are rigged or that polls are subjective to the people that are polled. They don't get it. And so the masses, and that's what they're counting on, the masses will see these polls and they'll say, oh, well, the majority of people do like Harris. So therefore, I don't know that much about politics. I'm just going to cast my vote for Harris because that's who the majority wants. You'd be surprised how many people actually feel that way. They know nothing about politics. They don't care, too busy, whatever's going on in their life. And they just cast a vote for whoever they think everybody else wants. Or of course, most people aren't even voting at all, which certainly helps them cheat. Because if you don't cast a vote, somebody's going to cast a vote in your name. And don't even think that's not going to happen. But outside of that, these polls are really important to watch because what happens is, let's just say in November 5th, when Harris takes the win, and I'm about 99.9% sure that will happen, although I pray every single night that it doesn't happen. I really do. And I hope you all are praying as well. But when it happens, they're going to be able to go back and they say, man, you Republicans, conservatives are crazy. She's always been ahead in the polls. What made you think your guy was going to win? It's all propaganda, all propaganda. Brent says Trump has over 70% of the black vote. She needs 90% or she's toast. Well, if you go in a free and fair election, yes. Jay says, remember, Hillary led every poll. Of course she did. Of course she did. And they thought they had it in the bag, didn't they? They thought they had it in the bag, but we one-upped them, didn't we? And we've got to do it again this time. We have to one-up them. And like I said, I think it was yesterday or the day before, the Trump campaign, they just trained 7,000 poll workers that they're going to have in these different battleground states. And these poll workers are going to be there to make sure they hold the integrity of the election. What worries, and Lewis says, trust the plan. I hope, Lewis. I'm trying to trust the plan. I really am. All we can do is do our part individually. Individually, we have to make sure we go out and vote. We work at the polls. We get our friends and families out. Whatever it is you think you can do to help, spread the word. Make sure people understand what's really going on. That helps a lot. And we've just got to do whatever we have to do. At the state level, we're doing great. Every day, I'm seeing these different states come out. Georgia, like I've said a couple of times, Georgia, and they should do this in every state. Georgia is counting the votes. So in Georgia, if you are a Georgia citizen and you are registered to vote, your vote is actually going to count. Because in Georgia, they are taking the votes, the legally registered voters, they're counting them. So let's say there's 900,000, I'm just saying, throwing up numbers. I should say, let's just say 900,000 people. I know that's not accurate, but let's just say it is. And they have 900,000 legally registered voters, legally registered. Well, when it comes around to election time, they need to have 900,000 votes, right? And it's going to be a little bit less because not all registered voters vote, but it can't be more. If you only have 900,000 people who register to vote, you can't have more. So in Georgia, they're going to only count the ballots and they're only going to count the ones that come from legally registered voters. So if you're legally registered to vote, you have a duty to get out and to vote, because if you don't vote in your place, someone else could vote for you. So make sure you keep an eye on that. Margie, I sort of want to do polls for Harris to let them be comfy again. Yes. Sandy, do we really believe there will even be an election. I wonder, Sandy, I really do wonder. We're definitely going to talk about that. Allison, has to be big to rig. Man, we've got to do better than them. That's what it comes down to. And I don't like to say this, but if we have to lie, cheat, and steal, we need to fight fire with fire. It is time. Because as much as I hate to say that, it is time. Because if we don't do it, we'll never have a chance again. We will never have a chance again. Robert, it's not the voting, it's the counting. In many countries, they lock up the ballot boxes, lock them up and tag and take them in case physical count is necessary. Yeah, Robert, that definitely not happening here. And it is certainly the counting of the votes because we know we've Smartmatic. I mean, look, the we use Smartmatic system. This the president, CEO of Smartmatic is being prosecuted right now. It's crazy. It is crazy what's going on in this country right now. The persecution, the political persecution that's taking place in this country right now. Well, we've played the videos from Tulsi Gabbard twice, right? Where she talks about the deep state, who the cabal is, and then the next day, literally the next day, after she gives an interview talking about who the deep state is, guess what happens? She's placed on the Quiet Skies domestic terror list. Come on, no. It's absolutely political persecution. And I believe it was Alice, somebody, I think it was no, Sandy said, "Do we believe there will even be an election?" I wonder, they weren't able to imprison him yet. That's still on the table. They haven't bankrupted him yet, still on the table. Obviously, they attempted to assassinate him. That didn't happen yet. Although, I don't know if you guys heard about this in Arizona, there is a man who escaped prison and he was arrested for making threats about Donald Trump, about assassinating him. And this guy has escaped and he's in Arizona and he is suspected of being in the area where the rally is going to be today in Glendale, Arizona. So I hope they catch him. I hope they caught him overnight. I didn't look for an update this morning, but we have that guy out running around. I mean, what a great excuse that would be. Things are heating up in Russia. We could end up in a war. I mean, that's, as a matter of fact, every day it is looking more and more like something is going to happen. The situation with Iran, it cooled down a little bit, but only because Iran came back out and made that statement where they said, well, we're waiting because we want our attack against Israel to be calculated. So we're waiting. Now, they also said, China, Russia said they're strengthening their ties with Iran. Could they be planning a coordinated attack? Could they be? China could take Taiwan. Russia could take Ukraine. We have Iran could take Israel. It could happen all at the same time because there's been a lot of strange warnings that are coming out. Our FBI said yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, the day before, that one is that they have credible reason to believe that hackers, Chinese hackers, are planning to poison our water supply. That's a really big statement. And then they also went on to say later on yesterday that we are facing right now increased threats. There's a lot of chatter they're hearing about terror attacks, about attacks to our infrastructure, attacks to our power grid, our water supply. Are these credible threats? Are they just trying to scare us? Is it fear mongering on the FBI's part? I don't know. But these are some real statements. These are facts. So Putin yesterday, Putin's government stepped up and he said, I mean, these people things are heating up. He said there are no more negotiations. No more negotiations. They are no longer negotiating with Ukraine after Ukraine came into the Kursk region and have allegedly killed citizens, dozens, hundreds of Russian citizens. No more negotiating. And Putin said that, it certainly is going to be an escalation. Russia has warned all of their citizens to leave Ukraine. And as a matter of fact, the United States, we have urged all of our citizens to leave Ukraine because we absolutely do believe that Putin is going to start his large-scale attack against Ukraine. But he blames us. He blames us as well. No question about it. Putin said here. Let's see here. That Russia. They said Russia is stepping up their efforts to strike civilian infrastructure, and military facilities within Ukraine. But now Putin has also said that he is going to hold all accountable. All of us are going to be held accountable. And he blamed NATO for coming into the Kursk region, into Russia, and killing civilians. And he said all will be held accountable. All makes me feel like he means us too. So how are they going to hold us accountable? I don't know. Are they going to hack into our systems? I don't expect them to launch any weapons towards us, of course, but things can certainly happen, absolutely happen. And what he stated is that it was one of sorry, Putin's military leaders who stated that he is fully convinced that Putin has made his decision and that all will pay. Now, you can take what you want out of that. And China has been threatening us lately. They're talking about, oh, the United States and all of the things that we've done to other countries, calling us terrorists and so on. So we know these three countries are coming together. We know Russia is extremely upset over NATO being in Russian territory. Yesterday, Putin announced that these NATO troops struck a nuclear power plant in the Kursk region, and they're very worried about the stability of that area. They're evacuating citizens right now. There's a lot going on. Lewis says all could be the deep state, no question. Allison, there are terrorists in our country and are here to harm us. Good morning, Stacy. And Brent, Iran with nukes is a very scary. I've heard recently. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Iran already has a nuclear weapon. They're not going to shout it from the rooftops because they know we're going to come in and get it, right? But I did read a report yesterday that said Iran is about 2 weeks away from completing their nuclear weapon program. Now, is that true? I don't know. But that's what I am hearing. And we know that NATO is planning on moving about 4,000 to 5,000 troops into the border between Russia and Finland. That's supposed to happen, or they're supposed to give the announcement next week. We'll see how that plays out. Things are heating up, and don't you think that NATO is knee deep in Russia and targeting civilians in Russia because they want a war, don't they? They are poking until they get a war. They thought they could poke Iran and that Iran would strike back because Iran always seems so unstable, don't they? Kind of like North Korea, Kim Jong-un. Doesn't he seem unstable? You think, well, if you threaten him, he's going to launch the first strike. And then guess what? We have our war, right? Well, I think they thought the same thing with Iran. I think they thought Iran would be very quick to pull the trigger, but they didn't. That didn't work. Another failed attempt because Iran, their leaders, as much as we all dislike them, they know what we're up to. Everybody knows, right, what happens right before an American election, don't they? It's like the world center stage. And so their next strategy, their next plan was, hey, let's go into Russia. Let's get NATO troops and let's go into Russia and let's indiscriminately target civilians. I've seen the videos. I didn't take them. So, of course, you got to take that with a grain of salt. I didn't take the video myself. I saw them. It could be propaganda, but it certainly looked like civilians were being killed in Russia by these Ukrainian/NATO troops, who, by the way, have an SS on their helmets. The Ukraine troops do, and with a Nazi symbol. I kid you not. I've seen the videos. BBC was showing a video by accident, and they showed the helmet. The anchor, he's like, "What is that on that guy's helmet? Zoom in. I want to see what that says." And it said SS with a big Nazi symbol. And of course, then they had nothing to say about it. Things are crazy. Lewis says they are always 2 weeks away. Obs Nicole, let's see here. Good morning. And Lewis, it is always the deep state. Allison, war, no election, part of the plan. It could be because that could be the only thing that stops Donald Trump from taking office. Think about that. If we're in the middle of a war, because what we have to remember is that the Democrats, they know that Harris can't win on her own. They know she can't win on her own. They know she won't have the votes. They already know these things. They know that they're propagandizing all of her rallies and her campaign in this DNC convention. It was so bad at the DNC convention, trying to pretend like all of these people were sitting in the seats that they didn't even have anybody to pan to that actually looked like a true Democrat. Every time they made some kind of a statement and they panned out into the crowd, it was always somebody like, "What are you people talking about?" Every single time. You can go back and look at the videos. Even Jesse Jackson, if you guys saw that video when AOC was talking, they panned over to him and his jaw was like dropped. And he's thinking, "What is this crazy woman talking about?" They can't win, and they know they can't win. So expect anything and everything between now and then. And there is so much going on. Andrew Tate, speaking of political persecution, we can certainly expect a lot of that to happen. I've played Andrew Tate videos a couple of times. And when I have, everybody's like, "Oh, I love Andrew Tate because he tells so much truth." Well, he moved to Romania. I'm not sure if you guys know this. He had moved to Romania and to what he alleges to escape political persecution. I didn't even know this until I saw a couple of videos this past week. Andrew Tate has been charged. His home was raided by the Romanian FBI. And so Romanian government raided his home and they are charging him with human trafficking, child trafficking, trafficking of minors, a sexual intercourse, sorry to be so graphic, with a minor. And these are amongst several of the charges against him. And I didn't know that this was going on, but apparently the FBI here in the United States and the government in Romania have been coming after Andrew Tate for 3 years. And so yesterday he released a video, and I want you guys to see this. Now, you have to use your own discretion, okay? Did Andrew Tate truly commit these offenses? I don't know. I don't know the guy. I do not know. What I do know is he does speak a lot of truth, and we certainly know you can't put anything past the government, right? If you're speaking truth, they could come up with a lot of false allegations against you. But either way, you just have to judge for yourself. But here is his statement after being released. Pardon the language.
You are okay?
Free man, built differently.
Yes?
Built differently, of course. Better than okay.
You are free? Free.
Listen, I'm going to say something to everybody. Listen to me. I moved to Romania 10 years ago, and I found an amazing country full of beautiful people. And I told the whole world about Romania. If you mention the name Romania anywhere in the world, they'll say, "Andrew Tate lives there, Andrew Tate lives there." I've done nothing but promote this country. I've done nothing but say fantastic things about Romania endlessly. And when I did this, people would say to me, "If Romania is so nice, if it's so safe, it's so beautiful, why has it got such a bad reputation?" And I said, "Well, there's probably a few bad actors, a few bad people who destroyed the entire reputation. Like the few fools at DCOT who just came along and told us that the mothers of our children are somehow human trafficked." I've been nice. I've been patient. I've played the game. I've respected the judiciary. I've gone to every appointment on time. But they busted my house again. And now I've come along saying there's 35 victims. You know, all 30 of those girls, 30 of them, have statements in our defense. 30 saying we've done absolutely nothing wrong. Two more are the mothers of our children. And 2 more have never even been to Romania. They've never even been here. They just found random girls we knew in other countries and made them sign pieces of paper. This is a setup. It's absolutely disgusting. Fair play to that judge who saw through the bullshit and let us free. And also, one more thing. The media is complicit. All of you are. When they first threw us in fucking jail, when they first put us in there, you're all running around saying human trafficker. None of you said, "Where's the evidence? Where's the proof? Where's the pictures? Where's the videos?" None. 3 years later, they do the same fucking bullshit. And you're all sitting there going, "Human trafficking." I'm not a human trafficker, clearly. If you human traffic someone, there is evidence. This is a setup, it's a stitch up. The 3 prosecutors at DCOT in my house, I said, "Why are you here? There's no case." They said, "There's a case if we make one." This is a fucking setup. All of it is. And listen, quiet. I'm not talking to you, sir. Be quiet. Be quiet. This is a setup. It is done on purpose, and it is designed to come up with the most heinous possible crimes to slander our name. And every single Romanian citizen should be disgusted that they are spending millions.
Judge for yourself. I don't know. I don't know Andrew Tate. Did he traffic children? Did he have a relationship with a minor? I don't know. But what I do know is that Andrew Tate does speak a lot of truth. He has uncovered a lot of different things taking place here in the United States and across the world that we wouldn't know if it weren't for his investigative journalism. And what do they do to us when we go against the plan, right? They have a plan, the 30-year plan, right? Agenda 2030. And what do they do when we go against it? They jail us, right? They imprison us. They make up false allegations. So I don't know. Beatrice, I don't blame him for being upset either. Good morning, Karen. And Lori, that is Andrew Tate. And I'll tell you, this could be any of us. Any of us could be those J6ers. Remember the J6ers? Trump intends to pardon them, by the way. And I hope and pray that he does. I hope and pray that he gets elected so he can pardon them. Some of the J6ers, have you guys seen that they've smuggled phones? Smuggled, meaning that somebody gave them a phone into their jail cell. One of them, his name was Jonathan Mellis. He has actually made several videos. He started a podcast in prison because his attorney gave him a laptop to use to view evidence against him. And they allowed them to keep this laptop so he could go in and do his own research to present his own case. And then what ended up happening is he used that same laptop to create a podcast in prison. He only got 2 episodes out, from what I understand, before they took the laptop away, before they realized what he's doing. And let's see here. Would Tate be out if the charges held up? Well, exactly. I don't know. I don't know the legal system in Romania. But what I do know is they better have some proof, right? It really makes you wonder what's going on, because we know, look at it, look at AI. What can AI do, right? AI can place you anywhere. They have your face. They have your face in the facial recognition system. We know that AI can place you somewhere that you were never at, correct? And don't even think that you're not in the AI system, because if you have a driver's license or if you have a state ID, you are in the facial recognition system. Because when you go and you sit down and they take your photo for your driver's license or your state ID, they upload that photo into the facial recognition system. That is how they do it. It's a fact. I'm not making that up out of nowhere. It is absolutely how it works. And if you have an existing driver's license, let's say you haven't even sat down recently and had a new photo take, well, they uploaded those too. Every photo in our database, in the DMV database, has been uploaded into the facial recognition system. And because we're all so smart and we give our DNA to 23andMe and all these other companies, well, they have your DNA too. So who's to say they couldn't say, well, this person was here, they did this, this, or that. Here they are, they're on camera. Here's their DNA. Here's their fingerprint or whatever else they might want to make up. Allison, I watch the Ashley Babbitt vigil almost nightly outside of the DC gulag. Yes. You can't trust anything that's going on with the government. And the conditions these J6ers are being held in is atrocious. And I realize prison is not supposed to be a good, pretty place. But one of these J6ers had a camera. Well, he had a phone, and he used the camera to make one last video because they knew that he was making these videos. The prison guards came in and searched his room, and I guess they found one phone, but he had another. I don't really understand how, if they found his phone, how he still has the phone. But I want to show you this video. This was made by a J6er in prison. This is in Asheville, Kentucky. And take a look at this. This is his prison cell. And this is how we Americans are treated. This is going to be you. It's going to be me. It's going to be all of us at some point if we continue to talk the truth, right? This is going to be all of us, because their number one objective is us. It's to keep us from talking the truth, from sharing the truth, from being the truth. And so when you watch this video, think about that. It's probably going to be us after November.
Guys, the prison officials raided my cell and found my stash spot, trying to hide my phone in the rice bag. Guys, it's getting worse. They're trying to silence me. They're trying to shut down my freedom of speech and trying to stop the message of freeing the January 6ers by voting for Donald J. Trump from getting out there. This may be the last time you hear me for a while. I'm probably going to be sent to solitary confinement soon.
Did you see his jail cell? Now, this guy, again, he was making a podcast and interviewing other inmates from his laptop. It was given to him by his attorney. And then he had, I guess maybe he was still using the laptop to make this video. I'm not really sure how he did this, but either way, now I understand if you're in prison, I don't feel like you should have the right to free speech, quite honestly. If you're in prison, if you've committed a crime, you shouldn't have a cell phone, you shouldn't have a laptop, and you shouldn't have the internet. Although we know a lot of prisoners these days do have access to the internet and they make videos all the time. You can go out and look at all the videos being made by prisoners. But did you see his jail cell? I mean, how awful would that be? For what? I mean, what did this guy do? Because he was at the Capitol building. They opened the doors and they let these people in. The Capitol police officers were taking selfies with these people, weren't they? You know, in my opinion, some of these Capitol police officers saw them as heroes. That's how I feel. And they were taking selfies with them. They welcomed them in. They were walking around like it was a tour, right? And then we see the bad actors, the people in all black. That wasn't us. That was Antifa. We know there's plenty of video to show that this was all a setup. There was more recent video showing what appears to be a police officer taking, or a federal agent taking I can't say that word, kabooms, out of a vehicle and placing them there next to the Capitol building. Remember how they could never find the person? All this facial recognition, and then they couldn't find that person. Well, they did. They always had a video. Now we see the video, and it looks like a police officer. Margie says trespassers at best. That's right. Beatrice, they've also filmed the guards sleeping. They did film the guards sleeping. Some of us saw those videos where all the guards were sitting up on the roof, eating, snacking, leaning back, looking down amongst everything. Did they look worried? No, they did not look worried. And Trump made a very strange statement yesterday when he was talking about how no civilians were killed, or no people were killed. I can't remember his exact statement. And one of you explained why you thought that he made that statement. And I wasn't really sure what it was. That maybe they weren't killed, that they were murdered, maybe something along those lines. Aswin says, nightly at the vigil, they speak to J6 prisoner, and it's said to hear their stories. It's sad to hear their stories. It is, but that can be any of us, and it probably will be us. Look what they've done to Tulsi Gabbard. Look what they've done to these January 6ers. What do you think is going to happen as we get closer to November 5th? What do you think is going to happen after November 5th? If Harris wins, and she probably will, then what? I mean, they're going to take away all of our rights. Don't think that they won't. Don't think that they won't. And there's so many cover-ups upon cover-ups upon cover-ups. It's going to happen. It's going to happen to all of us, because you know what? They're giving our country away to illegals. Is it for the vote? I don't know. I just read, I talked a little bit yesterday about California, and they have that assembly bill. It is 1840, Assembly Bill 1840. And I didn't really get into too much detail about it, but in California right now with this assembly bill, now it's past the assembly. It heads up to, I believe, the Senate now. And if this passes, then the state of California is going to offer loans to illegals, people who are not here legally. They're going to give them loans with no down payments and 0% interest to people who are not United States citizens. You can't get a loan with no money down or 0% interest. That's not happening for you. And these people don't even have documentation. They don't have jobs, but they're going to get a loan. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And then we have this company. It's called Hacienda Development Corporation, Hacienda Community Development Corporation. They are going to give, this is happening right now. This isn't something that needs to pass. This is happening right now. They're a private company in Oregon. They are giving illegals, people who are non-citizens, I want to make that very clear, people who are here in our country illegally, they're giving them $30,000. They think about that, $30,000 as a down payment for a home. Not kidding. These are people with no jobs, with no income, no credit history. A lot of them have no documentation, but yet this company is giving them $30,000 a piece to purchase a home. What in the world is happening? What is happening? And as a result of all of this invasion into our country, we have illegals driving vehicles that don't have insurance. They don't have any paperwork. They don't have any documentation. And it's driving insurance prices sky high. And this lady, this is a great video, because this woman, man, she's as upset as any of us would be over this situation. So take a quick look at this.
We are getting screwed in California.
Online insurance agency and price comparer Insurify.com says car insurance premiums that increased last year 24% will do the same by the end of this year, 48% in all nationwide. California could hit 54%. Insurance agents are caught between insurers' ever-increasing rates and the customer's ever-decreasing ability to afford them.
Some of our companies are completely shut down for any new business this year in California. The worst homeowners insurance crisis ever in California currently.
Only one company out of the 7 Schaefer uses will write new auto policies as before.
I've had clients tell me they're ready to move out of California because of the cost of insurance.
We came to Mash Gas in Orinda, a place that always saves consumers on money and where consumer-conscious people shop. We asked them about car insurance.
I actually lost my homeowners and car insurance last year from a company, and I had to go look for insurance, and I was able to get insurance, and I'm very happy with it, but it is costing me more money.
It's ridiculous. The Department of Insurance is not controlling them at all, and I swear they're in on it because they don't really care. That's why so many people are moving out of California.
These companies are just going to
they're forcing you out. People are leaving California in droves, aren't they? And unfortunately, they're taking all of their liberal values with them. It doesn't make any sense, does it? You hate your state because of what they're doing to you and the policies they enforce. And then you move to another state and you vote Democrat. And then, of course, that state enforces the same policies, right? It makes absolutely no sense. But think about that. People in your neighborhood right now driving around illegally in a vehicle, because they can obtain vehicles because the government gives them thousands of dollars. So illegals can easily go out and buy a vehicle. Not a problem at all. And they're out driving around your community. They don't have insurance. They don't have documentation. And guess what happens if you have an accident? Yes, your insurance will cover it, right? Especially if you have underinsured motorist coverage. But guess what's going to happen? They're going to jack up your rates. And Robert says, medical next. Government option will be what it is left. Well, of course, Harris wants universal health care. She wants to completely eliminate private health care. And she wants everyone to be on this universal health care. And I think we all know what that means, doesn't it? Is higher taxes because they have to account for that money. I don't see how they can tax us more than they already do. I really don't. I almost feel like we're a step away, a smidge away from them saying, you know what, you go and work your job and we're not going to give you a paycheck at all. That paycheck goes straight to the government. I mean, why give it to you so you can increment it out to all these different taxes, which is what we're doing now. They might as well just keep the whole thing. And then they're going to put us on food rations, and they're going to say that, which is, I hope you know that's how communism works, is they'll tax you to the hilt till there's nothing left. And then they take your money, they force you to work, and then they put you on food rations, and they say, well, you're working for the government. Your job is part of the government. It's now your duty to do this job. And if you don't, you'll be out on the streets or in prison. And then here's your food coupons. So we're taking care of your housing and your food. You just have to take your food coupons in and get your little block of cheese, your meat bones and whatever else they give you. Think about it, we're just a smidge away from that, because I think it was 2 years ago, I read a study where every $1 you earn, 73 cents of that $1 is paid out in taxes. What happens when it's probably at least at 80 cents now. What happens when it's at 100%? Because it's coming. Universal health care, giving all these illegals no interest loans, especially in our banking system right now, is so unstable. What are we doing? Clearly, they're intending to destroy us. Robert says, connect all the dots. Total collapse as planned. That's exactly right. Be self-sufficient as much as possible. Yeah, and if you guys know me, I talk about being self-sufficient pretty often, because that's why I moved out here to the middle of nowhere, is to become self-sufficient. Margie, we are the money tree on the South Lawn. You better believe it. And it's happening. We are a smidge away from full-blown communism. Not kidding. We may not know it. They might not call it communism. But when 100% of your dollar is going back into taxes, that's pretty much the same thing, isn't it? Pretty much the same thing. You know, in have you noticed I don't know how many of you guys watched the DNC convention. Again, I haven't watched any of it. I've looked at little highlights here and there. The propaganda is unreal. And you know what it is? It's brainwashing. It is really what it is. Now, I personally feel like a good portion of the people there were people who probably don't realize how crazy the Democrat Party has become. You know, Harris is a full-blown communist, Waltz full-blown communist, and I don't think that a lot of people realize that. And they go into the DNC. They don't talk about policy because they can't. If they talked policy at this DNC convention, most of those people would have got up and left, right? And a lot of them did get up and leave, because if you saw the photos or the video of the night of, let's see, was it Tuesday, Wednesday, today's Friday, Wednesday night, there was no one there. Almost all the seats were empty. There was no one there because people did get up and leave. But it was brainwashing. All they talked about, did you guys see them carrying around those Project 2025 books? They have these great big books. I have a video of the brainwashing taking place right here, because that's what they do, isn't it? They are the party of brainwashing, propaganda.
Y'all remember this big old book from before?
And this.
And let's talk about Project 2025.
Donald Trump's Project 2025.
Take Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Their Project 2025 will make things much, much harder.
On page 562, it says that Donald Trump could use an obscure law from the 1800s.
This is Project 2025, the Republican blueprint for a second Trump term.
Their extreme agenda, Project 1825. I'm sorry.
Donald Trump's roadmap to ban abortion in all 50 states.
Project 1925. Oh, I'm sorry.
A national abortion ban would undo that, and that is a plank of the Trump Project 2025.
Project 2025.
And the Project 2025 people.
Do you know about Project 2025?
This is Project 2025.
Would abandon our troops, abandon our veterans, our allies, and our principles. In Chapter 4, Trump plans to do Putin's bidding by abandoning Ukraine.
Project 2025, that's their propaganda, isn't it? That's their brainwashing, because they want everyone to believe that Project 2025 is what Donald Trump stands for. You know, I haven't read all of Project 25. I've read a lot of it. I don't personally care for the plan of Project 2025. There's a lot of really good stuff in Project 2025. There really is. There are a lot of good things in it, but there's also a lot of things that I think we couldn't convince most of America an agenda that we would want. And I think we have to be very careful, because just as much as we don't like their Project 2030, their 30-year plan, you know, they're not going to like our Project 2025. But Trump didn't write Project 2025. He wasn't even consulted, according to him. That was the Heritage Foundation, as we know. And while there are a lot of good principles within Project 2025, not all of them, but I hope that any president we have, including Donald Trump, I hope that he is the leader for all of America, not just conservatives. And that is my only fear with Project 2025, is that it is very, very much very to the right, very conservative. And that's good in a way, but we will never be able to maintain leadership if we go that far right. We have to meet in the middle. We'll never win if we don't meet in the middle. We have no choice in this country to meet into the middle. And Allison, yes, the Heritage Foundation did Project 2025. And Dottie, it's not ours. No, it's not ours. There's some good things in that book that I read, but it's not. And it can't be. That cannot be our agenda. And it's not. But they want their Democrats to think that it is. They want these people to think that we're all about Project 2025, that Donald Trump is going to institute all of these different agendas in Project 2025, which is not real. It is not real. Lewis says, how do we get back to the middle if we don't pull far? Well, we have to pull far right, no question. but we also can't go back to the horse and buggy. We have to be middle of the line because not everyone, even me, I'm single. I have never been married. I don't even fit some of the agenda in Project 2025. I am all for traditional family values. I do think that's the way to go. But America as a whole, we are moving away from some of these different things. That doesn't mean we need to go all the way to the left, full blown trans and gender identities. But we do have to meet in the middle, somewhere in the middle. There's a lot of women these days who do not have husbands, and there's a lot of women these days and couples who choose not to have choose not to have a traditional family. They may not have children. They may be, career people, whatever the situation may be. Most of us in America fall somewhere in the middle. Somewhere in the middle. I call us middle of the roaders. We fall somewhere in the middle. And our government, hopefully ran by somebody like Trump. Trump himself, he's somewhere in the middle, right? He's been married a few times. He's got children by different people. He's in the middle. He's not far right. He's in the middle, and that's where most of America is. And but we do have to pull far right to get us in the middle because we are right now. Our country is so far left if we don't pull hard, but just maybe not as hard as Project 2025. But Agenda 2030, that's a real thing. The 30-year plan is a real thing, and it actually is happening. And Agenda 2030 is happening. And the WHO, they're right in the middle of it. They want everybody vaccinated. Matter of fact, they want to come out with part of their plan for the year 2030 between now and then. They want to come out with 500 new vaccinations. Isn't that what we need? More vaccinations? 500 new vaccinations. We know that their 30-year plan includes, like I said yesterday, completely eliminating power plants, completely eliminating natural gas. They want us to go all electric, where our electricity bills are so sky high. And we know we'll have rolling blackouts or worse, because our infrastructure already our infrastructure already cannot support the electric load it already has. How is it going to ever support all electric? It makes no sense. Electric vehicles are the dumbest thing I've ever come across. But that's what their 30-year plan is. It is literally to take us straight into communism. But they don't talk about that. Did you guys know that Tim Walz met with Alex Soros yesterday? He did. I have plenty of photos of them together. He met with Alex Soros because they're working on a plan. They're working on all of our future. That's what they're doing. They're thinking about how they can get us under their big government thumb. And they're so close to doing it. They're so close to doing it. And it's all lies and propaganda. We all know, what do they say about Trump? Oh, the big words, man. He's so bad. They don't have anything. There's no policy that Trump has had that they can actually go against. There is literally nothing. In fact, Trump's policies are so great that they're all copying them, aren't they? He is the first person to give out insulin or to come up with a plan for insulin for $35 a month. That was Trump's plan. All of these things that they're taking credit for, all Trump's plans. As a matter of fact, I read a statement yesterday where they stated that Trump is the only president in the United States history to take the most marginalized people in our country, the lowest 20% economically, and actually bring them up, to create jobs for these people, to bring them up out of poverty. Can you believe that? But you don't hear them talking about that. You will never hear them talking about that because it's all brainwashing. He took the lowest 20% of our population economically and literally brought them up to where they were in a better place at the end of his term. You will never hear that from them. They are the party of lying, stealing, and cheating, just like the jobs report. Remember, we've been talking about that for days, just like the jobs report. They claimed 800,000 more jobs were posted, were out there, were hired in a year's time. All lies, just lies and propaganda because they want to look good. But in fact, no. And the jobs that they did create were just jobs that were coming out of COVID. They weren't real jobs. Things are bad. Why? Things are bad because we keep taxing the hell out of these companies. And when we pass these taxes onto these companies, it trickles down to us, doesn't it? I could go on and on about taxes, but I'd probably close this computer and go out into the street, and I would end up in prison. So we won't be getting into taxes today because I will lose my mind. But what about RFK Jr.? We talked a little about that earlier, and then I'm gonna switch gear and talk about some other things. But RFK Jr., as we talked about at the beginning of the show, Donald Trump said he's going to be in Glendale, Arizona today for his rally, that he has a special guest. I absolutely believe that special guest is going to be RFK Jr. I think he is going to be there. He's going to be in full force. Yesterday, he withdrew his nomination, filed papers to withdraw the nomination. I think he's going to be at the rally. He's going to endorse Donald Trump. And then I think down the road, in exchange, Trump is going to give him a place on his administration. I think it is a really good move. I think it's a really good move. I think that it's going to pull a lot of people in who would not normally vote for Donald Trump. If they think that RFK Jr. has a little bit of say, a little bit of pull, I think they will definitely go that route, especially people who are kind of on the brink of waking up. They're the old school Democrats, people who still vote Democrats, but yet they are losing their party to communists. I'm probably going to get in so much trouble because I've said the word communism so many times today, but that's exactly what it is. It is communism. It's coming. There is absolutely nothing we can do to keep it from happening. It's here. It's here. It's on our doorstep. And I really do wonder. I try not to talk about taxes, but I can't help it. I really do wonder what's going to happen when we take $1. We should do an experiment. I might do that. I think we should do an experiment. Take one of your paychecks. Think about the whole number of your gross paycheck, and then subtract, of course, the taxes your city, your government takes out. Okay, so this would be your whole dollar amount that you would earn in that pay period, and then subtract those taxes, and then you just use that bit of money to buy groceries, to buy your necessities at the store, and see at the end of that period, count out how much of it was for the goods, how much of it was for the taxes. I really do think that at least 80% of our dollar is now going towards taxes. It used to be 73 cents of every dollar going to taxes. I really do think now it is almost all of our dollar going to taxes. And that leaves, as you know, because you feel the crunch, you feel the pinch, that leaves very little money left to buy the things you really need. I think everybody right now, it seems like they're struggling to buy groceries. I'm shocked myself. I go to the grocery store and it's nothing anymore. For some reason, I always end up spending about $265. I went to Sam's the other day. I spent $600. It is outrageous. The price of food and necessities is outrageous, and it's not going to get any better. Donna, yes, good morning, Donna. I can see the comments today. Yesterday, they disappeared in the middle of the show, and I don't know what happened. Lewis, how about we just do away with the withholding, make everyone out a check to pay their taxes every year? Well, now, wouldn't that be nice? But that's never going to happen. I mean, that's why they, like Colonel Joe Adams said when we were listening to him on Wednesday, that's exactly why they weaponized the IRS, right? Do you remember when they hired 87,000 new IRS agents, and they actually took them out and gave them gun training. They gave them a weapon. They weaponized them, literally weaponized them. And why? Because they want the 10 cents of your dollar they're not already getting. That's why they're going to come after us, man, with everything they have. Everything they have. Adrian, I just switched from YouTube to here. I sent you an IG interview with RFK Jr. talking about JFK last speech and releasing. I will take a look at that, Adrian. And like I said earlier in the show, for some reason yesterday, my cell phone that I use, it's just a cell phone that its only sole purpose is for this show. It is only so people can comment to me, send me videos, send me links. It just stopped working. I don't know why. I'm hoping it's just the cord and not the actual phone. But if you do want to comment, if you want to send anything into the show, you can do that at 314-546-2677. And speaking of, I promised you guys that we would talk about some things that listeners have sent in. So I want to do that because there are we're going to kind of go off the rails a little bit, but these are things that I want to talk about, things that aren't, not political really, just some fun stuff that I have in the mix that we can go over, if I can find all of my notes. I mean, if you guys could see, I need like a second camera so you could see all of the wires around me and everything that's going on around me, because you would be like, holy cow, it is really hard to produce and host a show. And so I have all these different things around. So I apologize if you hear me rustling around and doing things over here. I want to start out with this. And I will tell you, it almost brought tears to my eyes, quite honestly. But I want to start out with this. And if you watch my show, you'll know that I sometimes have a hard time pulling up photos. I can pull up videos just fine, but when I go up to pull out an image, sometimes it just doesn't work. And I am hoping, literally praying, crossing my fingers that my images come up today, because today I need them. And let's see, Margie says, we have our rhinos, but enough to jump ship. Maybe they should. I don't know. Oh, that's right. I'm so glad you brought that up, Margie, because there is something I want to tell you guys, and it's very important before I move on to other things. Something that I'm going to do, and I think we all need to do. Go back, if you haven't already, watch the Tulsi Gabbard interviews. Watch her talk about the cabal and the deep state and the people who are really running this country. Watch that. And then watch the second part where she goes, and I played them both in, was it Wednesday's show. At the last part of the show, I played both videos, so you can go back and watch that if you would like. That would be episode 24 if you want to go back and see that. Play both of those videos, and then I want you to send an email. I mean, this isn't taking too much time out of your day. I'm definitely going to be doing this weekend, and once I compose an email, if you guys want it, I will send it to you. Reach out, because you know who can really fight for us and who does make a difference? Our Congress. They make a difference. They have the ear of the administration, of the cabal, of the president, whoever's running the show. You know, they're in the mix of things, right? They create the law. They're the ones dealing with the corporations. I want to know why more of them are not coming out like Tulsi did and speaking the truth. And I think we need to ask them. I am going to draft an email. I probably sound like a really crazy person right now, and I might be in jail next week. I hope not. But it's going to be a nice email, but I'm going to put together an email. Good morning, Colonel Joe Adams and the Washington Guard. I'm going to put together an email, and I'm going to send it to every Congress member, every member of Congress, to their email. It's not going to be threatening. It's not going to be it's not going to be tinfoil hat wearing or anything like that. It's going to be truth. And I'm going to ask them, why aren't you standing up for Tulsi Gabbard? She spoke the truth. And why aren't you speaking out? Why aren't you telling the truth to the American people? You were elected. I firmly believe these people started out with good reason. They started out because they wanted to make changes. I don't think most of them got into the game to make money. Some of them probably did. But then once they get in, they start playing the game, they get sucked in, right? We've talked about it before. A lot of our Congress people, they're getting paid $125,000 a piece by AIPAC, I believe it is, and a couple of other agencies to publicly show support for Israel. And that's just one example. And I'm only bringing that up because I just read about it recently. And they're getting all these kickbacks and hundreds of thousands of dollars from corporations, from lobbyists. No one talks about it. We do, but no one talks about it. And thank God again for Elon Musk and for giving us the platform of X, because now we can talk about it. But you know what? We have got to reach out to our Congress people, and we have to ask them why they aren't supporting Tulsi Gabbard. Why are they letting someone be persecuted, politically persecuted for telling the truth? And then don't they owe the truth to us? Don't they owe us the truth? I know none of them are going to answer back. None of them care. And I'm going to send them an invite to come on the show here and talk to us about what the truth actually is. Are they going to come on and say, well, they're probably not going to get a hold of me at all. They'll probably never even get the emails. But you know what? We have to try. Do it. Just take an afternoon. Do a little bit each day. Take 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day, and reach out, send an email to all of your representatives, all your Congress people, and tell them, why aren't you telling us the truth? We finally have somebody to tell us the truth, and she's persecuted. Why aren't you speaking up for us? So I wanted to throw that in there because that is my plan. I think we have to do it. I think people need to be held accountable. We need to ask them why they're not being transparent with us. The charade is up. We all know the charade's up. They know the charade's up. Why don't they just talk about it? That's probably never going to happen. So anyway, Lewis said they're corrupt. Almost all of them. Yeah. Do you guys, for anyone who was here earlier this week, it might have been Monday or Tuesday, I played 2 videos from General Mike Flynn. And in these videos, one of the videos, he said exactly that. He said maybe at best, 5 senators are good people. Maybe 5. And he said that was stretching it. Were actually people who were in the position for the right reasons, who are not corrupt. We always wondered why people join, end up becoming members of Congress, and then the next thing you know, they're millionaires. They're billionaires. How does it happen? It's because companies, lobbyists, because they pay them to support their causes. They are bought and paid for, and they need to be held accountable. Adrian, that's part of what RFK was saying day one. He would sign an executive order that any federal employee lying to the public would be immediately fired. And, Trump recently said something similar where he's going to reclassify government employees. It was Schedule F, which of course he came out with in 2020, and he's going to bring that back. So if they reclassify federal employees, they're a lot easier to fire and to prosecute for different types of things, including lying and leaking information to the press and so on. So that's something Trump wants to do. All right, I want to show this to you guys. I've been talking about it all week. It's one of those things where, again, think of it how you will. Think of it, is it real? Is it really a representation? And you may have seen this, have you seen that AI created an image of Jesus? And I seriously almost feel blasphemous for even showing this because it's an AI generated image of Jesus. However, I want to show this to you because what they did is they took the Shroud of Turin and they ran it through an AI scanner, and they came up with, based on that AI scanner and what they think Jesus looked like. And it's really phenomenal to me. I'm just going to stop talking about it and show it to you. And I am crossing my fingers and praying to Jesus right now that this photo shows up. There it is. So what do you guys think about this? Here, I'm going to take me out. You guys can see it. What do you think? They took the Shroud of Turin, ran it through AI, and AI believes that this is what Jesus looked like. I think it's very fascinating, and it gives me chills to even think about it. Now, a lot of people will disagree because a lot of people will say, no, this looks like a white man, or, but most people expect Jesus to look black or to look Arab, or he does kind of look Arab. And Monica says, it looks like Jesus. It does, Monica. Sandy says it looks like Willie Nelson. Well, Sandy, when I first saw this picture, I thought it looked like my mom's cousin's husband, Warren. I thought, man, that looks just like Warren. And but it does look like Jesus. Growing up as a child, and one of these days I'll show you the picture because I have it here at the house. It's over in the coffee room. But I do have a photo of Jesus from a long time ago that my grandma, she's had it since she was a little girl. It was passed down to her. I'm not sure who from. It's a very old, obviously not a photo, but it's a very old production of what they thought Jesus looked like. It looks exactly like this. It kind of makes me wonder, did they really know all along? Maybe all of this time, we really have always known what Jesus looked like. Maybe all those old depictions that we've seen all these years, maybe it was the truth. Maybe it was the truth. And Allison says, Newsmax did a great article on this. I'm going to look that up. I've not seen any articles. And thank you to the person who sent this to me. One of the listeners to the show sent this to me and asked me to talk about it. And so therefore, I am definitely talking about it because I find it kind of fascinating. And I can't help but getting chills looking at it, and it makes me think, is this the closest thing we can come to a photographic image of Jesus? It really does make me think that. It makes me really rethink a lot of different things. Donna said, did you see the video about a guy talking about strength through joy? Oh yeah, Donna, we talked about that either yesterday or the day before. And I actually showed a screenshot where strength through joy, which is one of Cammie's favorite sayings these days, is actually a Nazi slogan from 1933 Germany. Lori looks exactly how I think he did look like. Me too. And Lewis says he looks like somebody from the Middle East. Yeah, he does. If you look if you look at some of the folks in the Middle East, he does. But he also looks, I mean, we all look similar, I guess. He also looks like an American to me to some degree. I know he's not because there's no such thing as American back then. But yeah, he reminds me of somebody that would have been Middle Eastern, maybe not Middle Eastern in some terms. You know, he certainly doesn't look like he's from India, you know, or some of other countries where people are a little bit darker skinned and have certain types of features. Robert says, not thin enough. His description was recorded by the Romans from an investigation from Plenty book called the Archco volume by W.D. Mahan. We'll have to look into that. I don't know. You know, I think AI is interesting. I think AI has a lot of capabilities. Whether they can go through the Shroud of Turin and pick out a great image, I don't know. But I'll tell you what, you can look at the Shroud of Turin yourself. And I think when you look at that shroud, you do kind of see this image already, don't you? I mean, you can kind of already see it already. But I do think it's fascinating how AI pretty much came out with the same image of Jesus. It's been passed along for centuries, And maybe we've been able to maintain the accurate image all of these years. Maybe it hasn't, maybe people haven't changed it as time went on, is what I kind of think the most. So I thought that was something. Again, thank you for sending that in to me because I was happy to show that. Something else somebody else brought up to me, and this is a really interesting video as well. I know there was a time in my life where I literally lived on Coca-Cola, on Coke. As a matter of fact, do you guys remember when they changed the recipe for Coke and they came out with the new Coke and it was disgusting? We all hated it. So then they had to go back and do Coke Classic. Do you remember that? But it's not just Coke. I mean, it's Pepsi. It's all these different sodas. You know, not one particular brand. They destroy our bodies. They destroy us from within. No question about it. I finally kicked the soda habit. You know, once in a great while, I still want a soda. It is an addiction. It's hard to get past, just like maybe somebody who smokes or drinks or something along those lines. But it's really bad for you. Anything that you can pour on a battery to take off acid and corrosion is probably not good for your system. And I remember what kind of got me moving away from drinking sodas a while back was that there was a woman, I read a report about a woman, I don't recall where she was or her age. She wasn't very old, but she passed away suddenly. No one knew why. They did an autopsy. They found out that her esophagus was black. I mean, completely corroded and black, you know, and had holes in different spots. And they said that's because she drank a 2-liter of soda a day. Now, I won't say which soda because I don't want any of these companies coming after me, but she drank a 2-liter of soda every day. And they claim that it eroded her esophagus so bad it actually killed her. And I thought, well, that makes sense because you're literally drinking acid every single day. Adrian, yes, I boycotted back then until they changed it back. Then again, after I found out how horrible it is for you, it is so bad for you. It is so bad for you. Robert says the illusion of choice, Coke or Pepsi products, same ingredients, but they do taste different, Robert. They really do taste different. I think Pepsi is a lot sweeter than Coke, but I'm going to show you this quick video because they did a little bit of a study on Coke. And this guy, I don't know who this guy is, but this guy's going to talk to us about Coca-Cola in particular, and he's going to tell us his findings.
A doctor once told me a story that put me off drinking Coke. He said he used to go driving with a friend who started out very healthy. A doctor once told me a story that put me off drinking Coke. He said he used to go driving with a friend who started out very healthy. More and more he'd see this guy with a big can of Coke with him in the car, to the point that he just always seemed to be drinking Coke. After a while, the doctor noticed his friend getting thinner and thinner. Meanwhile, his Coke drinking just got worse. Well, it turned out the reason he was losing weight was that he had diabetes. Eventually, he died of diabetes. Diabetes is a global epidemic. It's estimated that it kills 4.2 million people every year. Understandably, some people opt for artificial sweeteners over sugar. They have no calories. There are plenty to choose from, like sucralose, saccharin, and aspartame. But artificial sweeteners aren't exactly safe as houses either. Studies have linked them to lupus, erythematosus, multiple sclerosis, and glucose intolerance. Other studies have connected them to brain tumors, mood disorders, deceased mental function, migraines, and seizures. Now back to Coke. Just in case you're thinking to indulge in a glass of the black magic potion as you watch the rest of this show, let me tell you, Coke can cause dental damage and osteoporosis. Carbonated drinks are high in acid and sugar, Drinking too much can cause dental cavities or tooth decay. The acids in soft drinks can also corrode teeth's outer enamel shell. This enamel is the hardest substance of the human body, but it's no problem for soft drinks, especially the sweet black Enchantress, to break it down. One study tested this on a cow's tooth. The tooth was soaked in Coke for a week. Afterwards, they found obvious damage to its hard tissues. Then there's the phosphoric acid that's in soft drinks. This disrupts the absorption of calcium in our intestines, and with less calcium in the blood, the body will source it instead from the bones, thus weakening the bones. Research has shown a link between drinking Coke and decline in bone density in women. The gravest danger linked to Coke is cancer. 100 years back in America, 1 in 20 people would get cancer. Now it's 1 in 3. Of course, many different lifestyle factors contribute to this, from pollution and stress to smoking and poor diet. Our diet is something we can generally adjust and improve though. Cutting out, or at least cutting back on the bad stuff, can save a lot of future heartache. Coke has caramel coloring. This is made of ammonium compounds. In the manufacturing process, sugar, ammonium compounds, and sulfites make a chemical called 4-methylimidazole, or 2-methylimidazole. I know what you're thinking. Sounds straight out of Breaking Bad, right? Not quite. But both of these chemicals can cause cancer, including liver and lung cancers. Coke also contains benzene, which is also a carcinogen. That aside, Coke drinkers are more at risk than others of getting rheumatoid arthritis.
Thank you to the person who sent me that video. That's Vital Sign Brendan. And thank you. As a matter of fact, somebody, a listener to the show, sent me several videos by this Vital Signs, and they're all good. And I will eventually, hopefully, work my way through and play them all at some point. There's a lot of really good points this guy makes, and really enlightening, a lot of education there. And we know it's some bad stuff, don't we? Coca-Cola, Pepsi, any type of soda, really full of sugar. And then what's the alternative? If you don't have the sugar, then you have the sugar-free, the diet sodas, and then you're poisoning yourself with these sugar-free substitutes. I mean, there's no winning situation. You know what I have here? I don't know if you guys can see it. Water. I have water. I every morning while I'm here talking and I'm playing those videos, I'm drinking my water. And I try my hardest to limit any type of soda or sugary thing. And it's hard for me to do because so many people in my family do drink soda, so it's always around, and it is hard to not take. Robert says, check into Prodentum regarding teeth products. Yes, I've heard of Prodentum. And let's see, Donna, artificial sweeteners tear me up. Artificial sweeteners can be very bad for people. Donna, number one reason for type 2 diabetes. Yes, it is. Adrian says, I use Coke Pepsi analogy for how vaccine studies are conducted. Man, another product that's out there that people are giving to children who is destroying children's teeth, their internal system, and it's no wonder why we have so many people who have digestive issues and some very serious problems because we're bringing in all of this sugar. I know somebody recently who was nearly a full-blown diabetic from drinking sugary cocktails. So, man, it can happen. You got to be careful. Adrian says hydrogenated water. Yes. I mean, we got to do what we can to be healthy. So thank you for sending that in to me. And I think it was very interesting and very educational for us all to see. Now, don't leave the show and go open up your can of soda and drink it. So something else that was sent in to me, and I was already going to talk about this at one point, but since somebody did send it to me to talk about today, I was going to talk about it on Monday. And then, I get busy, the show's almost over, and then I move on, and there's a lot of things each day I have that I never do cover. Speaking of, don't let me forget, before we leave, I'm going to be talking about Thomas Crooks, because I want to go back and recap on some of the information on Thomas Crooks and want to at least dedicate a few moments to that before we leave today. Donna says, I hope and pray that someday you will have a show about artificial fragrances and chemicals that are in our laundry and how softeners tear up our clothes. We are like a walking candle wick with fabric softener scented candles. The list goes on and on. So many of the chemicals and fragrances are hormone disruptors. It's very interesting. It is, and I will have to do that because it absolutely is. Animals, people buy those candle scents that, they're the little liquid fragrance, if I can talk, fragrance scents that you plug into the wall. Those are so harmful to your pets. We have people who are putting additives into their mopping solutions, very harmful to pets and harmful to you. We have Teflon pans. I don't have any Teflon pans. Throw them all out. Teflon. The fumes, you don't even know they're there. You cannot detect the fumes from Teflon. Teflon will kill your pets as well, and it'll kill you. So get rid of those Teflon pans, man. I'm all about bringing back cast iron pans. And I love laundry to smell fresh. And I'm very guilty of using the Unstoppables, the Downy Unstoppables. I love those things, but they're not good for you. The scent is not good for you. So we will definitely do that. Thank you for bringing it up. And let's see here. Something I found out about artificial sweeteners were aggravating my anxiety. Somebody else told me that too, that artificial sweeteners can make you very anxious. So that doesn't surprise me. Adrian, most of us are addicted to sugar. Yes. Yes. Sugar is really more addictive than cocaine or alcohol or anything else. And it's perfectly legal, right? Perfectly legal, but yet it's destroying your body. Allison, heavy chemtrails today in Franklin County. Adrian, I love cast iron. Me too, Adrian. I cook in cast iron as much as I can. A lot of people these days are low in iron. There was a time when people couldn't take iron supplements. Remember that? You grew up believing that if you took an iron supplement, you're going to be really sick. Well, that's because a long time ago, people used cast iron pans. And when you cook in a cast iron pan, a little bit of that iron ends up making its way into your food and into your body. It's a mineral that you would have naturally received from cooking in cast iron pans. But now that no one uses cast iron pans, a lot of people are actually short on iron. Again, not something you should take unless you talk to your doctor, but some people are now short on iron. I take an iron pill like once a month. Sandy, I make my pineapple upside down cake. Me too, Sandy. I just made one for my mother's birthday last week. And Adrian, I've always been low in iron. Adrian, magnets are in the washing machine. No soap needed. I didn't know that. Oh, if you put magnets in there, you don't need soap? I had no idea. I'm going to have to look into that. I know I'm busy, but I'm going to try to be posting some of these recipes for different things on the Tabs on Tap Facebook group. I save them. I come across them all the time and I save them. I meant to post some information about growing your own pistachio trees and making your own laundry soap. There's so many different things we can talk about where we can be better, healthier people for us and our family. But if you're going to do anything today, get rid of your Teflon pans. And I know that cast iron pans are very expensive at the store. But if you go to any estate sale, if you look at any of those online auctions, you can find some cast iron pans for very cheap, probably yard sales and that kind of thing too. Robert says, short on iron, take vitamin C with meat protein. Yes, that's a good idea. Good idea. So I'm going to show this to you. And I'm going to show two photos to you guys. And then I'm going to move on and talk about Thomas Crooks. Now, I want you to look at this closely. And I already know what you're going to say. You're going to say, because you all saw this photo too, it was in Virginia. And you're going to say, well, they explained it away. They said it was from a transformer that blew. It put a smoke ring into the air. And maybe it is. Maybe this one is. I don't know. Maybe it is. And I know the person who sent this photo to me had sent me the whole story, which I did read. And I had already talked about a little bit on Facebook myself. But here's the interesting thing is this is actually a video. And this is a photo from a video. And I wasn't able to play the video because it had a bunch of other stuff on it. But I will tell you what's interesting about this, and I know they said it was a smoke ring from a platformer or a transformer, that blew, and it absolutely could be. But what's interesting about this, and Todd, I'm going to show that picture next, the flames in the portal, and because someone sent that to me as well. So this ring right here, a ring like this, just like this, similar to this, they've been popping up all around the world, It's not just here in Virginia. Now, maybe this one is from a transformer. I don't know. But what I do know is when you actually watch the video of this, there are birds flying around. There's all kinds of stuff going on, but the ring doesn't move. And you can see it from very far away. It doesn't move. Now, what happens to a smoke ring? If you smoke cigarettes and you blow a smoke ring, we've all known somebody in our lives who blew smoke rings. And what happens when you wave your hand? It dissipates, right? It goes away. Well, this ring didn't. There were birds flying all over, traffic moving, things going on. It held its shape for a very long time before it dissipated. It held its shape. And that doesn't seem like a typical smoke ring to me. Now, I personally know someone. This is somebody I know in my own personal life who saw a ring just like this. However, they were in an airplane flying. And what airplanes fly at an altitude of about 35,000 to 42,000 feet, and they saw a ring just like this all the way up above the mountains on their flight. Now, think about that. If they saw a ring like this up that high, what was that from? Are we supposed to believe that a transformer blew or something else in that ring made its way all the way up and it changed shapes? It didn't dissipate. The one he saw changed shapes. He sent me several photos. He took these photos, and I'll have to show those to you guys. I have 50,000 photos on my phone, so it's not easy to go back and find things. I'll have to have him resend them probably. But when you look at the photos he took, you can tell that this ring of whatever it is moved around a little bit. It would be in different shapes. But that's not how smoke behaves. And smoke, when you have a smoke ring in the sky, it doesn't just hang there. And I don't care for all the people on my Facebook page who called me crazy, who thought it was, oh, this is from a transformer, it's from this, it's from that. Okay, well, maybe this one. What about all the ones all around the world? This is taking place all around the world, 40,000 feet up in the air, some of them. There is no explanation for some of these. Dottie says chemtrail debris. Donna says tiny particles keeping it together. People have been going around and investigating these circles. Now, some investigators say they are mosquitoes. They're swarms of mosquitoes, and they circle. And where it looks to us like it's smoke, it's actually bugs, mosquitoes. Are mosquitoes 40,000 feet up in the air? I don't think so. I can only leave it to you to look at this photo, go out and research it yourself. Someone sent it in to me, asked me to talk about it, and I was eventually going to talk about it anyway. But I always appreciate people sending these subjects into me. And Fridays, for anyone who doesn't know this, if you have any information that you want to share with me and you want to talk about it, now I may talk about it during the week also, but Fridays are going to be dedicated to at least spending some time, hopefully at least an hour of the show, talking about the things you guys want to talk about. Maybe the entire show if enough people text me. You can send me a text to the show line at 314-546-2677. And that's where all of these images came from. So again, I'm not telling you what to think. I know I have my tinfoil hat on today. I don't know. But I think it's very fascinating. And I know the person who sent the photo to me, definitely did not believe that it was a smoke ring, not at 35,000, 42,000 feet up. So here's another one. Now, this was in Tennessee. This is the one Todd was talking about a minute ago. Now, someone did explain this as being some type of weird weather phenomenon. I can't remember what they called it. A fall something. I wish I would have wrote the word down. I don't know. I've never seen anything like this before, but I will tell you, it looks pretty wild, doesn't it? If you look at it. Monica says, wouldn't bugs do this just as much closer to the ground if they were doing it? Yeah, I think so. And none of it makes sense. Happy Friday to you also, Nancy. And so if you take a look at this ring, this was in Tennessee, and it shows kind of the progression. Ignore the +2. That was just part of the photo that was sent to me. And you can see where it kind of started out as a loose formation. The top picture actually in the top left, I think, was the end. But you can see this little ring of smoke. It actually had flames, like it was on fire. Unless that's light, to me, it looks like fire. And you can see its progression, and it has that halo around it, which is pretty wild how it look at its inner shape. It keeps its inner circular shape, doesn't it? Monica says, fire in the sky. Todd says, I wonder if CERN is running right now. Probably. It's probably always running these days. And I think this is another weird phenomena that probably has a good explanation. I don't know. I've seen a couple people try to explain it, and somebody had a good explanation for it, but I don't know. I don't know what to think. I think there's a lot of weird things we're seeing. And Donna says, I know there are certain fireworks that make different shapes that stay in the air a long time. Also true, Donna. Genevieve, her first thought was CERN. Also, mine too. The first thought I had was also CERN. But something else that I thought about is that, and I know this makes me sound crazy, but that's okay. That's why I'm on a podcast and not radio. It's okay if I sound crazy. I think a lot of you probably will sound as crazy as me at different times. So I feel okay. Safety in numbers, right? I really do wonder, have you ever heard the term the veil is thin? Talking about maybe what we don't know. I consider the veil is what we don't know. What's out there. We know what's around us, but what's out there, right? And I do feel like the veil is becoming thinner all the time. I'm noticing different things where, you used to have premonitions and, you know how you think of somebody and all of a sudden the phone rings and they call you. That used to happen to me once in a while. Now it's happening all the time. Now I'm thinking about something and the next thing I know, it happens. These little deja vu moments. It's happening more often. And I really am starting to think that that veil is getting very thin. What separates us from them? And somebody also, Beatrice, I like crazy LOL tinfoil Friday. It could be tinfoil Friday. Would be a welcome change from our crazy world. I really do think it's something's going on. Todd says maybe the veil is getting thinner because our time is coming to an end. I've wondered that, Todd. I have wondered that. Maybe because isn't there something in the Bible that says all will be revealed? Something to that term. Maybe something is going on to where we are getting closer and closer, and as those end days approach, more is being revealed to us. Maybe everything's not such a mystery towards the end, and it really does make me think what's going on. How can you not? We're seeing so many different things. Somebody sent a video, and I'm going to have to try to, or maybe it was a photo. I'm going to try to get that for you guys next week. Next Friday, we'll talk about it. And it shows what looks like a manta ray swimming through the sky. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen, but you see it with your own eyes. And then I started thinking, and I've thought this for a while, and I'm going to get this photo for you guys for next Friday. Do you guys, good morning, Michelle, do you guys ever seen the photos of the diver? Now, this diver is hundreds of feet, not thousands, hundreds of feet, below the surface in the bottom of the ocean. He's got his special equipment on. And what he found at the bottom of the ocean was a river. And it was the strangest thing I've ever seen. And it probably changed my thinking about a lot of things. So you have to remember when you see the photo, if you haven't already seen it, I've posted it a few times on Facebook, but I will bring that for you guys next week. If you look at the photo, it doesn't look like you're at the bottom of the ocean. It looks like you're right up here on the surface of the earth. And in this photo, you can see a river run through the bottom of the ocean. And you see the diver sitting on the edge of this river at the bottom of the ocean. Now, the river at the bottom of the ocean, the water in it was much more dense than the ocean itself. So therefore, the river held its shape. It looked like a river. It looked like a river with banks. There were trees that were downed around this river, and it looked like fallen leaves. It looked like a fall scene, of something I might see in my own backyard, but yet it was underwater. And the diver couldn't enter the river at the bottom of the ocean because the water was too dense. And it really got me thinking about the universe and how the different types of atmospheric layers that we have, to where we start out in space where things are very light and no oxygen, very light, no oxygen, no gravity for that matter. And then as we get closer to Earth, the air or whatever, the atmosphere becomes more dense, right? Until you get to the very core, like this guy was, down at the bottom of the ocean. And it's so dense at that level that this river, he couldn't even enter the river, another body of water. It really got my mind thinking. I could spend all day talking about that, so I'm not going to. But it really made me kind of think that maybe there are different life forms that survive in each of these atmospheric layers. And maybe these worlds are starting to merge together, and we're seeing some really weird things that we wouldn't normally see. I don't know what it all means. Maybe I'm just crazy. Todd says, I have these dreams, and then, man, it actually happens. Me too, Todd. I've had so many dreams, and I'll tell you an incident I had, and I'm going to do it quick because I want to talk about Thomas Crooks before we go. Many years ago, I don't know, 20 years ago, maybe longer, I was with a friend, and we went to a bar, and I know I was in my early 20s. I know that. We went to a bar, and we'd walked in the front door. And as we were going in the front door, these two guys got out of a cab and were also walking into the front door just behind us. We go up to the bar. Somehow they end up in front of us, and they're ordering their drink. And the guy turns around and asks us, can he get us anything? It was very crowded, and just started talking to us. And he said something, and I don't recall what he said, but he said, well, we're just here visiting. We've never been here before. And I said, I know, you're from Istanbul. I don't even know where that came from. At the time, I wasn't into politics. I don't even know if I knew what Istanbul was. but it just came out of nowhere. And he looked at me like I was crazy. And he goes, "How do you know that?" And he goes, "We just arrived today from Istanbul." I don't know where that came from. To this day, I don't know where it came. Gave me chills thinking about it. But I saw it. It was a deja vu moment. I saw it happening in my head, and then I said it just like I saw in the deja vu. It was so strange. To this day, it's one of the strangest things that have ever happened to me. And as a matter of fact, it freaked this guy out so bad that he and his friend left. They probably thought I was a spy or somebody from the government tracking them down. Todd says, when I was in Arkansas last month and ordered an Uber, I had seen the man in his exact car before in my dream. Yes, exactly, Todd. That stuff has happened to me before too. So strange when things like that happen. So strange. And let's see here. Donna says, I believe our brain is like an awesome computer that tries to figure things out and help us. I think so too. But I think it's more than just our brain. I think it's out, it's guardian angels or people that have passed on. There's something going on that cannot be explained. And we're going to talk more about that on different days. And trust me, if you ever want to come on the show and talk about any of this, if you ever want to share your own life experience, we all have them. Don't tell me you don't. We all have them. Get a hold of me. It is easy enough for me to send you a link and you can join us on the show and talk about anything you want. Because you know what? That's what this is for. I started this podcast so that I could give you a platform to talk. And so please join me anytime. Talk about what you want. I am happy for it. Donna says, I believe when someone dies, their energy stays. I think so too, Donna. I think there's something so much more that we don't know, so much more that we'll never know. We all are stuck in talking about our politics and our government and our day-to-day lives. And our daily lives and politics and what's going on in this country. Think about that as the size of your little fingernail. The universe and everything around us in our lives is so much more than that. And we have to open up our minds and accept these different ideas and ways of thinking and realize that there's so much more. And I really wish we could all focus so much more of our energy on these other things. I feel it around me all the time. I really do. I feel that there are energies around me at times. And I don't mean like a ghost or a spirit or a guard. I don't even know. But I really absolutely do believe it. And I'm right there with you, Don, about people. I believe that we are electrical beings. Our body is energy. And you can't tell me that when our body passes on, that energy goes with it. I mean, some people will say, yeah, it's like unplugging a toaster, but I don't believe that. I really do not believe that. So before we head out, I want to talk a little bit about Thomas Crooks. I only have a few minutes because I talk so much. Genevieve says, we are energy. We are absolutely energy. Absolutely. And there's so many things I want to talk about that we'll have to talk about another day. Adrian says, everything is energy and has frequency. Yes, it does. And when you tune into that energy and you tune into that frequency, I think it opens a lot of doors. So if that's something you've never heard of, you've never talked about, look into it, because I'm telling you, frequency is used to heal people. Believe it or not, you can get a device called a Healy. There's so many different ways. Lewis says, Crooks and Cheadle, straight out of Hollywood. Mary says, thinking of my sister today, passed 12 years ago today. Oh, I'm sorry, Mary. Also, her husband's and my dad. Birthday party in heaven. So hard. You, Karen, have a good weekend also. So I want to throw this out there really quickly. I want to talk about Thomas Crooks before we go. It's so hard because I'm seeing all these good comments. Pam, I'm always talking to lights in the house. Me too, Pam. Me too. Before my grandma passed away, or, the months leading up to her passing away, the lights in her house would flash all the time. And I swear to you, I thought it was my grandpa giving us a sign that, hey, pay attention. And one day I was sitting in the chair in her living room taking a nap. I was a part-time caretaker of her and fell asleep sitting in a recliner. And I swear to you, I was half asleep, half awake. I heard my uncle's voice, who had passed away so many months before. And he said, hey, Tab, what's up? It was him. It was his voice. There's no way that could come out of my mind. It was the craziest thing. I believe all of these things, Pam, and we're going to talk a lot more about that. We can talk about it every day. There's nothing that says we have a rule where we can only talk about these things on Fridays. We can talk about this stuff anytime you guys want. And Donna says hospice workers can really tell some good stories. We're going to get into that. My stepfather's in hospice now. We'll definitely get into that. My grandma was also, and my grandma would always see a woman come into her room and sit on her bed. And the woman would never face her. She never saw her face. But the woman had on a blue dress, and it reminded her of her mother because the woman had beads and her mother wore a blue dress and beads. So I'm getting chills thinking about it. All right, we got about 4 minutes left. Mandy says, after my father-in-law passed away, we had a DVD player that was not plugged in. It would turn on and the drawer would open. Absolutely, Mandy. So many of those things happen. You know, I was thinking about my own brother the other day because he always played. He was a big lottery player. He passed away, of course, not too long ago, and he would always play the numbers of his birthday. His birthday, my son's birthday, are both on March the 8th. And so he would always play the pick 308. And then just recently, for whatever reason, I was really thinking about him, and I started playing the pick 3. Here in Illinois, you can play lottery online. So I would just subscribe and play these different games. And so for a few days there, I was playing 308, sorry, 308. I was playing 308. And then the other day, I didn't. And it won. I couldn't believe it. I looked and I'm like, there it is, 308. I've been playing it for days, Michael. Why didn't you give it to me a day I played? So yeah, it is really something. There is a connection there. We can't deny it. You guys have probably heard some of my stories before, and we're going to tell more of them. But before we go, and we'll definitely get back to this, so hold those thoughts. I want to talk a little bit about Thomas Crooks, and I'm going to make it quick because we don't have a lot more time. And the reason why is because I use Restream, and it gives me about 2 hours, and then it shuts down. And I could subscribe to a bigger plan, but it's already expensive enough. So maybe somewhere down the line when I start looking for sponsors and so on, I will add to that and can carry on a little bit longer. So Thomas Crooks, we all know who Thomas Crooks is. He is the person who has attempted to assassinate Donald Trump. There's been a lot of new videos released, and in those videos, you can see Thomas Crooks walking around. They say he walked around the rally for a full hour before he climbed up on the roof. A full hour. And of course, he went back and forth to his car. He did all kinds of different things. Very suspicious. They were seeing him. They were taking photos of him. They were commenting, texting about him. But yet, somehow this guy on everybody's mind did climb up on the roof and did allegedly fire a shot at Donald Trump. Now, we've talked about some of these things before, some of them not. So we know that Thomas Crooks had these encrypted accounts. He had 3 different foreign encrypted accounts where he was able to message people. And I was reading a story about this just this morning. Now, the FBI, they contracted an Israeli company. It's an Israeli technology company called Cellebrite. Have you guys heard of Cellebrite? Cellebrite. You can look that up. Cellebrite. And because, you know why? Because Apple will not give the police your passcode. So if you put your phone on lock, Apple is not going to assist the police in getting that information. They just won't do it. And, you know, even in a case like this, even in a homicide case, Apple is not going to help the police unlock your phone. So they had to go to this company called Cellebrite, an Israeli technology company, who unlocked Crooks' phone for the FBI. So when they got into his phone, they found all these encrypted apps. So while they were able to look at some things on his phone, they were not able to access these apps. They do not know who he was talking to. Now, I have also heard that he had some foreign bank accounts. And I'm looking for the data for that, but I'm hearing that he did have a couple of foreign bank accounts. So that's something to think about. But what's most important here is that, and before I forget, think of another guy too. Look up Maxwell Urich. I've talked about him on this show several times, Maxwell Urich. The white van that we all heard was at the assassination attempt. Remember why the white van with the Arizona license plates, where they found explosives in the van? Well, that van allegedly, I'm saying allegedly to protect myself, but I know it did. It belonged to Maxwell Urich. Maxwell Urich, and the reason why I know is because a reporter, a man on the street reporter, had the license plate number, and he researched it, and it came back to this Maxwell Urich. Well, Maxwell Urich is a resident of Arizona, and he also owns an explosives company. Now, Maxwell Urich and Thomas Crooks were friends. Now, we can't prove they're friends, so I should say allegedly friends, but they use the same gun range. And the gun range they used was called Clairton Sportsman's Club, the Clairton Sportsman Club. there in Butler County. And guess who else uses that gun range? The Department of Homeland Security. It is where their officers train. And in fact, when this investigative reporter went and looked at the books for this gun range, they saw that Thomas Crooks was there one afternoon, along with several other DHS employees who were there also practicing shooting their gun. Nobody knows, did they interact? Did they have anything to do with each other? No one knows. But we also know Maxwell Urich also used that same gun club. We also know that Maxwell Urich and Crooks at least communicated some. Were they friends? Did they just communicate? We don't know. Now, the day after one of these times, now Crooks had been to this gun range many, many times, but one of these days, the following afternoon, after Crooks had left, the DHS actually conducted a major training operation at this gun club, which is pretty strange. And then all of a sudden, a few days later, we have the assassination attempt. So to me, it's about connecting the dots. Do they connect? Do they not connect? I have to leave that up to you. Is it coincidence that Matthew, I keep calling him Matthew, that Maxwell Urich and Thomas Crooks both use the same gun range that the Department of Homeland Security uses? Now, is it possible that these two gentlemen met some of these DHS employees while they were there? Did they end up having connections? Is there something more to it? Is it just coincidence? I don't know. What I do know is that, as we know from Representative Clay Higgins, he went to investigate Crooks' body. He went to he went to the medical examiner's office. He was going to look at Crooks' body and get a better idea of what type of injuries he sustained after he was shot by, first of all, another lie. He was actually shot by local police first. So he was shot by two different officers. The first shot was by local police. And the second shot, when he was hit, was actually one of the Secret Service snipers. So he was shot twice, allegedly, according to this report. So Representative Clay Higgins, when he arrived at the medical examiner's office, Crooks' body was gone. No one told him that the body was leaving. It was still an investigation ongoing. They weren't supposed to do anything. Well, guess what? They took him 10 days after the assassination attempt. They cremated his body. And no one told the medical examiner. The FBI took him and cremated his body, allegedly, according to this report. According to, not a report, according to Representative Clay Higgins. And the FBI didn't tell anyone. They didn't tell the medical examiner. They didn't tell the coroner. They didn't tell anyone. They didn't tell local police. They didn't tell any of the investigators. No one knew what was going on. All of a sudden, his body is just gone, and he's cremated. End of story. And Donna says it's still under investigation. Yes, it is. Allison, too many cover-ups. It is so many cover-ups, isn't it? So many cover-ups. How can we not talk about this? Lewis, no way. You think the government colluded to assassinate DJT? No, they would never do that. No, of course they wouldn't. It's kind of funny. I'm not going to talk about it today because we don't have time. I have a video, you may have seen this, of Gaddafi, Muammar Gaddafi, of course, of Libya. And he talks very openly in this video about the JFK assassination and why Kennedy was assassinated. And it's very interesting to see. Maybe I'll play that for you guys next week. It's a little bit long, so I don't know if you guys want to see that. How can we not think maybe something's going on? There was another guy, and I haven't really talked about it much because I don't have all the details, and I've got like 1 minute to explain all this to you, but there is an investigative journalist who went back and looked at phone records and other types of things for Thomas Crooks, and they coordinated or tried to coordinate some federal agents along with Thomas Crooks, their phone pings. And according to this person, it appears that federal agents and Crooks were at the same place at the same time on several different occasions. This person claims, and I've seen the photos, they claim that they have photos of federal agents at his home, at Crooks' home, in the days prior to and in the months prior to the shooting. Now, I've not heard any official statement on the side of the FBI or Homeland Security or anyone else, and maybe there's nothing to any of this. Maybe there is. We'll probably never know, will we? But I think there's a lot of good people pushing for facts, pushing for answers, and there's new information being revealed all the time because things have changed, haven't they? Things have changed since Kennedy. Now we have video. We have cell phones. We can take a video anywhere we're at. And Thomas Crooks was caught on so many different people's videos. There are so many of them out there. I could spend an entire show showing you these videos. Unfortunately, Restream only allows me to show you 10 videos a day, so I have to pick and choose wisely. But we will do that at some point, because I would like to show all of the different videos in succession. Maybe if it's not even part of the podcast, just like a separate thing that I do. But either way, my time is up. Dottie says, sounds like the Warren Commission. Well, my time is up. There's so much more we could talk about, and we will. We'll carry on. We'll talk about some of these other things on other days. And again, I'm always going to talk about politics and world news and the election and everything that's going on. Keep an eye out this weekend on what's taking place between Russia and Ukraine. Again, Putin, if you didn't listen earlier, making some very serious statements, coming out of his government, his military advisor, saying that he's had enough. There is no more peace talks, that there are going to be some things that happen in the coming days. Of course, the United States telling our citizens to get out of Ukraine. We have China telling their citizens to get out of Lebanon. We know there's some things going on. And of course, according to one of Putin's representatives, he feels that we will all be punished for our mistakes in Ukraine. So keep an eye on that. Thank you, Beatrice. Have a good weekend, Dottie, Donna, Karen, everybody. And hopefully we will see you guys all back on Monday. So much more to talk about. And you know me, I'll be on Facebook posting some other stuff over the weekend because I just can't help myself. So have a good weekend, everybody. I'm Tabitha with Tabs on Tap. If you like the show, please share the show, because that's how we get the truth out. Share the show. And, obviously we need to build as much of a following as we can. It's not just about me. I'm not making a single dollar or penny on this show. It's about getting the truth out there. And that's what we absolutely have to do. So have a good weekend, everyone. And I will look forward to talking to you all on Monday. And yes, Mary, RFK today, I bet you he's going to be at the Trump rally in Glendale today. He's going to be giving that endorsement. Thanks again, everybody. Have a good day. Have a good weekend.